Alright, so we're going to move on to step 2 of the typographic portrait. And right now you should be at this stage. You should have an image that looks like this. You should have layers that are similar to this, minus this one up here. You should have 5 layers, a background layer, a white layer, and then your colored layer. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start adding brushes into these layers, and we can do that multiple ways. We can use the brushes, or we can use type to add the type into these layers. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start with our lightest layer right here, and we're going to create a new layer above that, and we're going to just type in lightest. Or let's not type lightest. Let's type 1B, so that way we know it is linked to that first layer. And we're going to hide all the other layers. We don't need to see any other layers right now. And we're going to come over to our layer, and we're going to hold the Command key or the Open Apple key, and we're just going to click on this layer. And notice that it makes a selection. And then we're going to hide that layer. We don't need to see it. And we're going to close that. And we're going to come over to our brush. And right now, I only have in my brushes my word that I created: Hadley, Cutie, JD, Fall, another Hadley, Play, and Daughter. So I'm going to pick one of those brushes. I'm going to pick Fall. And what I'm going to do is, actually, I need to go back to my layers real quick. And I need to make this layer up here. And I need to use the eyedropper tool, and I need to get that color. So now I have this gray color. Now I can hide that again. And now I can go in with my brushes. I can adjust the size of my brushes if I want to make it bigger or smaller to fit in the areas that I need. I can overlap. I can do a lot of different things with that. So I'm just going to start brushing in some layers. And I want Fall to be my background. Now I can also delete that if I need to, if I mess up, by just hitting delete. I can go into my brush tip presets right here, and I have Fall selected. I have Shape Dynamics and Transfer on here. I can adjust any of these I want. I can turn my Fall so it is crooked in here. I can turn that back. I can scrunch it so it is skinny, so that way I can fit a whole bunch in here. There is a lot of different things I can do. Spacing really isn't going to do anything with this one. Again, I can do scattering, and then I can go in and change those things, and it would do random things in here, but I'm not going to do that. I want it to be very controlled by me. So I can go in here and I can make this one bigger, making sure that brush tip shape is selected. Then I can make it larger right in here. So that way it fits within here very well. I'm going to angle this one just a little bit. And you can overlap. It is not a bad thing to overlap. I can go back in and put more in here so it fills it up. I can go in here and make it a lot smaller and do small ones in here if I wanted to fill up my areas. There's a lot of things that I can do. On my example of the close-up of Hadley's face when she was younger, if you look closely, some of the type is warped. I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly just in this area. Making sure that our selection is still selected. If it's not selected, you can always come back in and reselect it. That's not a problem. If you go up to Filter and you go into Liquify, and I will show you the reason why you want that to remain selected. what you can do now is you can move this over, use the forward warp tool, you can zoom in on this area. All the red is masked out, you can't use it, and you can actually warp that up. I'm going to use a smaller brush size, this is way too big. Yep. I can move that text up. I can pinch it, I can do lots of different things with it. I wish I could see it a little bit better, but the light gray doesn't show up very well with the transparent box on it. But you can always undo things. You can step back, you can hit escape, which would undo it, and go back out to here. But it won't, as long as you have this selected, the warp tool won't go out of that bounds. It won't go up into this area up in here, which we don't want it to do. So I'm going to go back into the warp, or liquify, excuse me. And I'm just going to push some of these up so you can see what that looks like within there. Press OK. And see how that is now warped a little bit. And I can undo that by just simply saying Control Z. And so now I'm going to go back in to my brushes. I'm going to make it big again. Go in here. And all these little things are selected, and I'm just going to randomly, so that way it gives it some color. And I'm clicking quite a bit. I'm not holding and clicking and dragging. I am just clicking. I don't want to hold, like use a normal brush, because that's what it's going to look like. I don't want that. We don't want that. So now we're going to go in, and to remind yourself, sometimes I have to remind myself where I'm actually painting. So I can go into my layers, I can turn this on, so that way I kind of remember where I'm going with this. Okay, I have to do that. So then I can turn this back off, making sure 1B is still selected. And now I'm going to pick a different brush, which I can do in my brush tip shapes as well. We'll do a Hadley in here. And if I were doing like the hair and stuff, I could change it. So Hadley was like along there, but I'm not. I'm doing it like this. And remember, you don't have to use just one word within here. I'm going to do Hadley, and then I'll do the other Hadley and overlap it. I can go back in, I can warp this area, which I will do. I don't want fall in there. I'm going to go back to my history. I accidentally selected that brush. Go back to. Remember, your history is a powerful tool. Go back to my brushes. Let's do play. Change your sizes if you want things to stand out or not. So go in here and continue to paint this in. I'm going to pause this right now, finish this layer, and then come back to it so you can see what this is like when it's all done. Okay, so now I have this layer done. It is pretty well filled in. If you look in like these skinny areas right in here, I changed my brush tip so it did wording at an angle. You can always come back in when you're done. You can always come back into your layers and rework them if you move on to another layer and you realize that you don't have enough letters or words and you want some more, like right in here. Obviously I didn't get enough in here. I can come back in and check it out. Now this is a very random overlapped way of doing it. You do not have to do it this way. You can do it very precise, very straight across. You can use the text tool as well. This is just one way of doing it, and I'll show you how to use the text tool to do it as well. However, I find this way a lot easier, even if you do want it very straight and very precise. This way is really really easy to do it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my layers. I'm going to deselect, Command D. So now I have this deselected. Okay. I'm looking in here. I can go back in and select another area if I need to go back in and put some more in here. I can rearrange my brush and do what I need to do. But I'm not going to right now. I can come back in and do that. So I'm going to hide this. I'm going to actually leave this layer. Okay. But I'm going to go to my next one. I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to rename that 2B. Okay, I want to see this. I need to use my eyedropper tool to select my color. I have my color selected. I command click on layer 2 and then I hide it, so now it is selected. And now I can go in and I can start painting in those areas now as well. So I can go into my brushes. And again, I want to do fall for this one, like I did before. This is the only area that I'm actually going to use fall on. Just a personal preference. So I'm going to go in here. Fall is done. I'm going to go make it small, really small, so I can get some little ones in there. Ooh, maybe not quite that small. Some small ones in here as well, like I did over here. I want to be consistent. I don't want to do one layer really straight and uniform and then the next layer really crazy. You want to be very consistent with your things. And now I can go in and I can create my second layer. Now it is completely up to you how much you decide to put into it, how much you want to overlap, how many different layers you want for the areas. Now the smaller areas, I prefer to use smaller brushes so you can actually read the words if you were to look closely at it. Okay, so this is how you create words, the typography portrait, using just the text, or excuse me, the brush tool. Your next tutorial, I will show you how to use the type tool. Now you can intermingle the two, so you may want to watch this one, try it out, and then watch the next one and try that one out, or you can watch both of them and then decide which one you want to try.